This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. Mountain Glass is holding their January sale, which includes borosilicate Golden Gate tubing at 20% off. Just put in the term Golden Gate at checkout. And they also are holding their soft glass COE 104 sale on a Fetre or a Moretti rod at 30% off. Just put in the word Fetre, that's E-F-F-E-T-R-E at checkout. For any other questions or comments, just go to mountainglass.com. That is mountainglass.com. And this show is also brought to you by Green Flash Glass. And if you are a wholesaler, retail store, get a hold of them through their website at greenflashglass.com. Give them a phone call and place your order. That is greenflashglass.com. And all sales are always free shipping that are $1,000 or more. And now on with the show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 74. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm excited to bring you all chats with artists sharing stories and inspiring while helping you grow your business. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hope we can achieve all the above. I am having a fun allergy day, so pardon my sniffling. I'm going to try to edit out as much sniffles as I can, maybe a sneeze here and there. I am having one of my severe allergy days, which I tend to get this time of year here in Florida, where our weather is never consistent, usually warm, and now we're in the 50s. Which is amazing and a great change, but man, my allergies suck. So, anywho, today we are going to be discussing repetitive motion injuries again. I'm going to be revisiting this topic because this is something that is near and dear to my heart because I am currently dealing with this issue myself, and sure, a lot of you out there that have been doing this have been behind the torch or as a glass artist or really anything in repetitive nature, this typing, playing music, playing with clay, cooking, with the such for a living. 10 plus years, eventually you'll start getting some kind of arthritis or cramps or tendinitis or something going on. And as these cold fronts pull through here, they're usually pretty strong in terms of the pressure, which I know is kind of crazy, but it does affect my joints and my aches and pains. So I wanted to revisit this topic. Not only will I be bringing in somebody on, I'm waiting for an email response to bring a medical doctor out of Texas talking about repetitive strain injuries and what have you. But I wanted to just kind of go over a couple brief areas of concern, and then also have a product I wanted to talk about that I came across and I will be bringing these folks on pretty soon as well. And this product just has a little teaser, has helped me in a sense with helping alleviate pain in my hands. So other than that, before we get on with the show, I wanted just to announce real quick that it is time for Mountain Glass's weekly Get It Quick sale, which actually begins on Tuesdays. So this began on, this is January, Jesus. This began on January 13th, runs through the 15th. That is Pacific time at midnight. It ends. Right now you can get TAG First Quality Glass for 25% off. Just put in code TAG. And then also for all you soft glass and jewelry makers out there, they have their Add a Bead sale items 15% off. Just put in the code ADDBEAD, that's ADDBEAD, at your checkout, and you guys can get some kind of discounts on. For those of you out there like myself that make other things than pipes, they have their wine bottle stoppers and bracelet and jewelry making kits and stuff that are fun to throw some beads or pendants or sculptures or whatever you want to throw on these guys. So yeah, and there you go. And they also were announcing that as of Friday, January 22nd, they will be doing their Glass Alchemy price adjustment. They said that the price of Glass Alchemy products will be changing on Friday, January 23rd. Raw materials, labor, and electricity costs have all increased in order to continue to provide the market with a high-quality product. Glass Alchemy is bringing the price of the glass on the adjustment with the production costs. This price adjustment will allow Glass Alchemy to continue to invest in the growth of the borosilicate glass palette. And for those of you out there that are concerned with worrying about companies raising their prices, I always say business is business. You got to raise your prices as the economy also changes, and we also have to raise our prices as well, which then we pass on to our customer, which sucks, but it's just the reality of inflation and growth in business. As well as those that are not aware, the post office is also about to raise their prices. So you got to make adjustments for shipping as well now. Those of you out there like myself who deal with Etsy, they sent out an email where you can actually automatically adjust somehow through their amazing genius in programming, can adjust your shipping charges based on what the new rates are going to be. And also one more fun announcement for Mountain Glass. They have a new joint size. It's a 12-21 female and male. So now there's a 12 mil. There you go. Go to mountainglass.com and check out all their stuff, and we will be back very soon here. So now it is time for us to get into our monthly medical talk, where we are going to be talking about repetitive strain injury. So just like I said before, I have personally been dealing with some issues with my pinkies, my left thumb, the palms of my hands. Wake up in the middle of the night with numbness in both my hands, whether it's my entire hands asleep, maybe just like my middle fingers asleep, or my hands are all cramped up and like all in a kind of a fist in a sense, just because of the cramping and arthritis I'm dealing with. Also, I deal with shoulder pain, my left shoulder especially. But my right shoulder every once in a while acts up due to an injury I had when I was younger as a kid, rollerblading. So there's all these little things that are coming up, but I know that my hands and my shoulder in particular are due to the almost 17 years now behind the torch of just production and doing big work and whatever else, on top of life in general. Having grown up playing baseball and sports as well, and repetitive motion with throwing baseballs and whatever, I'm sure that all adds up. But really, we're here to talk about the glass. So just knowing that, for first and foremost, the most important thing we can do to help prevent this type of stuff, which I want to talk about first, is by stretching, whether it's through yoga or a morning exercise or even just a before routine and after routine. It's just like in running or any kind of exercise. You always want to stretch before and after. So I believe it's the same way with glass blowing. I'm going to be putting up a couple of pictures with this post, and that little ding's my daughter sending me a text. I should have my volume off. But I'm going to be putting up a couple of pictures. What I like to use myself to stretch, which I'm trying to get into more of a better routine with it, is using a Frisbee. I play disc golf a lot, and disc golf I find helps to stretch me out as well. But I have a couple exercises that I use with using a Frisbee. I find it helps to get a nice symmetrical pull on my muscles in my lower back and my arms and shoulders and stuff. A lot of it goes back to baseball stretches I used to do when I pitched. But using a Frisbee really does help in terms of stretching out your shoulders, and then also like your obliques, your lats and your deltoids and all that stuff in your back as well. Because most of us that do this and have been doing this for a long time, we have tended to overdevelop certain muscles that people normally don't use a lot of, muscles on our shoulders and in our forearms. Part of my issue I do deal with that my massage therapist had told me a couple of years ago was that my forearm muscles, because of the rotation and that repetitive motion, has actually caused my forearms to get really tight, which then pinches off nerves and doesn't allow good tendon flow and blood flow and all that kind of stuff. So that's just another area in forearms, our shoulders, our backs, our lower backs. So posture, stretching, staying hydrated, all that kind of stuff, even like a good yoga routine or even just like a standard physical weightlifting routine here and there. But it does help kind of keep you limber also. Just kind of depends on what kind of physical attributes you're looking for. But the most important part, again, is avoiding repetitive muscle and injury, is to avoid repetitive strain injuries. So here's the definition that I have, and I've gone to Wikipedia, which isn't always the best places and outlets for truth, but I figured it would be a start. So the definition of RSI, or repetitive strain injury, according to Wikipedia, it is used as an umbrella term to refer to several discrete conditions that can be associated with repetitive tasks, forceful exertions, vibrations, mechanical compression, or sustained awkward positions. Examples of conditions that may sometimes be attributed to such cases include edema, tendinosis, tendinitis, carpal tunnel, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of other things. Tennis elbow, trigger finger. I've heard some folks out there in the industry deal with that. We tend to not only constantly rotating and moving our hands, but we also tend to stand in awkward positions for a long period of time. So there's one test that I found was very interesting. It's called the Finkelstein's test. And this is for de Quervain's tendinitis, which is something that as I was reading through, could potentially be something that we are dealing with or could deal with, which then also can lead into carpal tunnel syndrome. There's different variations on how you go about testing this, and I found what they were talking about is basically you hold your hand out to a doctor like you're going to shake their hand, and then they grab your thumb and kind of pull your thumb towards them, away from you, and then down, so it kind of bends your wrist. And I guess that if you have a severe pain in your wrist up in the area of the tendon, that means that you have tendinitis in that particular tendon. There's another one that's called the Eichhoff's test. I think that's how you pronounce it. Where you more or less hold your thumb with all your fingers kind of balled up into a fist, and then you hold your arm out straight, and you try and pull your wrist down. And there's a tendon. That tendon runs up your forearm, and you will see if that hurts a lot. Now, I do it myself right now. It actually feels kind of good to stretch out, just to hold your hand out and grab your thumb and pull your wrist down. It's kind of interesting. It feels good as I'm doing this. But those are just a couple different tests. There's also different ones I do, whether it's ultrasound or x-rays for carpal tunnel and what have you. There's also all kind of different ways of helping this situation. There's like a cold laser therapy you can have done. There's different biofeedback, ultrasound therapy. There's general exercise has been shown to decrease the risk of developing RSI. Doctors sometimes recommend that RSI sufferers engage in specific strength training exercises. For example, to improve a sitting posture, they recommend that you modify your posture and your arm use, and that's part of our thing too. We deal with our arm use, and there's just referring to a picture. I'll have this link on the show notes for you guys as well. So now we're going to get into a little bit of the carpal tunnel syndrome, which I know is an area that we are all concerned about. And this is basically, the definition is that carpal tunnel syndrome is a medical condition in which the median nerve is compressed as it travels through the wrist at the carpal tunnel and causes pain, numbness, and tingling in the part of the hand that receives sensation from the median nerve. Which basically is, don't know anatomy too much, but the hand is comprised of your metacarpals and then your phalanges, which are your actual finger bones. And at your wrist, from where your radius and ulna come in and attach to your hand or to your wrist, there are your little carpal tunnels and are your carpals, and they have little holes in the middle of the bones that blood flows through, nerves and tendons. In this particular area, and through the middle of all of that cluster of bones is where your main median nerve runs through. And if that area becomes inflamed, then they kind of squish together, which then they pinch off the nerve, which then leads to carpal tunnel syndrome. And it's kind of an issue some people deal with. It's definitely come a long ways in terms of medical surgery and stuff being done for it. I know my mother dealt with carpal tunnel due to being a nurse and doing stuff with her hands for years and years and years. And the doctors actually really were new to carpal tunnel when she had her surgery, and they kind of messed up and had long-term issues because of it. So, but it's just kind of neat where medical has gone to now. But anyway, so the part of the main symptoms of carpal tunnel is what they're saying is intermittent numbness of the thumb, index, and long middle fingers, and the radial side of the ring finger, which is the thumb side of your ring finger. So basically, if you look at your hand, like your right hand, for instance, your thumb, your pointer finger, your middle finger, and then the left side of your ring finger would be where you're having issues. The numbness often occurs at night with hypothesized reasons related to sleep position, such as the wrist being held flexed during sleep or sleeping on one side. It can be relieved by wearing a wrist splint that prevents flexion. And flexion is just, again, like making a fist or bending your hand down. Which is something I'm going to start doing myself, is wearing a wrist guard at night. It says that long-standing CTS leads to permanent nerve damage with constant numbness, atrophy of some of the muscles on the basically they're saying your thumb and pad muscles on your hands, and the weakness of the palmar abduction, which is basically you lose strength in your hand. It makes it difficult to open jars, to squeeze things very hard, which is not really good. Pain in carpal tunnel syndrome is primarily numbness that is so intense that it wakes one from sleep, which is what I deal with. Conservative treatments include the use of night splints and cortisone injection. The only scientifically established disease-modifying treatment is surgery to cut the transverse carpal ligament. Basically means that they have to cut your ligament to open up and help with the inflammation area, which sucks. Which has definitely gotten a lot better surgery-wise. So it talks about some of the work-related issues that we can deal with carpal tunnel. The international debate regarding the relationship between CTS, carpal tunnel syndrome, and repetitive motion and work is ongoing. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, has adopted rules and regulations regarding cumulative trauma disorders. Occupational risk factors of repetitive tasks, force, posture, and vibration have been cited. The relationship between work and CTS is controversial in many locations. Work diagnosed with carpal tunnel syndromes are entitled to time off and compensation. Once again, which is why I would love to see our industry get a union or some kind of guild of some sort, because if we have representation, have like a national insurance plan of some sort we can all get on. These type of issues we can actually deal with and actually not cause us to go bankrupt because we have a $100,000 medical bill we can't afford because we don't have health insurance. Some of us out there that do have health insurance are very blessed and fortunate. There are ways to provide your own health insurance as well, but it can be expensive at times. Just something to kind of a side note there, just something to think about. Some speculate that carpal tunnel syndrome is provoked by repetitive movement and manipulation activities, and that the exposure can be cumulative, which means over a period of time. It also has been stated that symptoms are commonly exacerbated by forceful and repetitive use of the hand and wrists in industrial occupations, but it is unclear as to whether this refers to pain, which may not be due to carpal tunnel syndrome, or more typically numbness symptoms. So the way they basically go about finding a way whether or not you have carpal tunnel, there's no consensus. They're saying here is a combination of described symptoms, clinical findings, or electrophysiological testing can be used. CTS workup is the most common referral to the electrodiagnostic lab. All right, so now we can get into some areas of prevention. Suggested healthy habits such as avoiding repetitive stress, work modification through use of ergonomic equipment, wrist rest, mouse pad, etc. Taking proper breaks, using keyboard alternatives. These are for those that type a lot. And have been proposed as methods to help prevent carpal tunnel syndrome. Suggested healthy habits such as avoiding repetitive stress, work modification through use of ergonomic equipment such as wrist rest and mouse pads, taking proper breaks, using keyboard alternatives such as digital pen, voice recognition, and dictation, and have been proposed as methods to help prevent carpal tunnel syndrome. The potential role of B vitamins in preventing or treating carpal tunnel syndrome has not been proven. There is little or no data to support the concept that activity adjustments prevent carpal tunnel syndrome. Stretches and isometric exercises will aid in prevention for persons at risk. Stretching before the activity and during breaks will aid in alleviating tension in the wrists. Place the hand firmly on a flat surface and gently pressing for a few seconds to stretch the wrist and fingers. An example for an isometric exercise of the wrist is done by clenching the fist tightly, releasing and fanning out fingers. None of these stretches or exercises should cause pain or discomfort. Biological factors such as genetic predispositions and arthropometic features have significantly stronger causal association with carpal tunnel syndrome than occupational environmental factors such as repetitive hand use and stressful manual activity. This suggests that carpal tunnel syndrome might not be preventable simply by avoiding certain activities or types of work activities. And then there's ways of treating it. Generally accepted treatments include physiotherapy, steroids, either orally or injected locally, splinting, and surgical release of the transverse carpal ligament. There is no or insufficient evidence for ultrasound, yoga, lasers, B6, and exercise therapy. Change in activity may include avoiding activities that worsen symptoms that may require changing work. The American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons recommends proceeding conservatively with a course of non-surgical therapies tried before release surgery is considered. Early surgery with carpal tunnel release is indicated where there is evidence of median nerve denervation or a person elects to proceed directly to surgical treatment. The treatment should be switched when the current treatment fails to resolve the symptoms within 2 to 7 weeks. The importance of wrist braces and splints in the carpal tunnel syndrome therapy is known, but many people are unwilling to use braces. The American Academy of Neurology recommended a non-invasive treatment for the CTS. At the beginning, a therapy using splints was indicated for light and moderate pathology. Current recommendations generally don't suggest immobilizing braces, but instead activity modification and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs as initial therapy, followed by more aggressive options or specialist referral if symptoms do not improve. Many health professionals suggest that for the best results, one should wear braces at night and, if possible, during the activity, primarily causing stress in the wrists. So just some things to think about. I can get on and get more in depth about this. But I really want to just kind of cover this area and topic of carpal tunnel because it is, again, something very, very important for us to know about and to be concerned with. Again, prevention is number one. Stretch, whether yoga or just doing your own stretches yourself. Stay hydrated and keep mobile. If you do need to take breaks, I generally work a 3 or 4 hour shift at a time and then take a break for an hour just to stretch and dehydrate or rehydrate and eat, and that kind of stuff. So just some things to think about and get into the motion. And now what I want to tell you guys about too is something that I found on the market here locally that I used one about 2 weeks ago and just used a little bit of this stuff. And I wasn't sure if it was a placebo effect or what, so I went back again to try it again, and I found that this stuff actually worked really well. This stuff is made by a brand called Enchanted Sunshine. It's an Australian oil of eucalyptus, all natural pain relief. So the active ingredients are USP eucalyptus oil, grape seed oil, aloe vera, and jojoba or jojoba oil, however you want to pronounce it. Basically, ideally, what you do is just squirt a couple squirts in your hands, rub it in the areas that you feel are affected by your pain. It causes blood flow stimulation and actually helps to relieve pain. I'm going to start using it myself at night before I go to bed and actually put some socks on my hands to help not only keep my hands warm, maybe help keep this stuff active, but also to keep it from getting rubbed off into my pillow or something. I'm actually putting some on right now, and it actually has a nice little smell. What I've been doing is rubbing it, spraying it on my wrists, and then rubbing it on my wrist and then into my hands, and it seems to be pretty awesome. I'm going to be bringing these folks on to the show here to have them on and talk about this product. You can go to their website though. Their website is enchantedsunshine.com. That's ENCHANTED sunshine.com. And I am not sponsored or affiliated with these guys whatsoever, but I do want to recommend this because it's something that I found helping me. It's anywhere from $20 to $40 for a bottle, depending on what size you get. The $30 bottle I find was probably the best bet because of how long it's supposed to last you. So there you guys go. I will have information on the show notes. Just click on the picture on the podcast. It'll flip around and show you all the show notes on there with links and what have you. And then also you guys can always go to wiseguyradio.com and subscribe to our newsletter. And also when you get signed up there, you'll get some exclusive content that I do not share on the show, as long as giveaways and also some fun stuff behind the scenes. And then don't forget, please, to share this show with your friends and family. If you are listening to this on iTunes, please subscribe to the show. It'll help make it so that you get the downloads easier. If you do download the show, it lets me know you did listen to it. I do not get to know if you listen to the show or not, just based on listens. Which is kind of frustrating and for all of us podcasters out here that do this. But also, make sure you guys go check out Mountain Glass. And also, for those out there that have a retail store or an online store, and you want to purchase wholesale directly from Green Flash Glass, go to greenflashglass.com and get their stuff on board for your shops and get it in your doors. So other than that, guys, I hope this information helps out. This coming Friday, I will be doing our next Q&A. Please get your questions in. We have some good ones already lined up. I want you to please send your questions in to info@wiseguyradio.com. Don't forget that when you do this, I will definitely give you a shout-out. If you can please include your Instagram name on there so I can let people out there in the world know your Instagram. And thank you guys again for listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show. Love you guys. Take care, and take care of those wrists, shoulders, knees, and toes. Peace. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.
You're listening to the